Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. How are you doing guys? This is your host Vaibhav. For today's session of correlation and regression, we are starting earlier than usual because later in the day I will be traveling. So I thought it's better to do it earlier in the day so that we have considered the price action which we can later on use to figure out the opportunities to get us profitable trades. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the Euro USD trading on the 5-hourly candle period, and I have added the SMA 12 and SMA 24 to get us the price range of last 1 hour and 2 hours respectively. And this Donkey channel 24 and 48 is in place to figure out the price range over last 2 hours and 4 hours respectively. Now, if we look at the charting of the Euro USD, it has continued to climb after making this low at 1.085. In yesterday's session, also, I had talked about the possibility of Euro USD continuing its upward swing from the lows which it established around 1.085. Even in yesterday's session, the Euro USD was one of the most bullish instruments trading against the dollar, and that undertone is continuing in today's session as well. Even now, the Euro USD is one of the bullish instrument trading against the dollar, and the price formation is on similar lines, which makes us look for the buy trade. It is not really, I think, advisable to go for any short sale trades. If we look at its trajectory, considering this medium term perspective, also it has shown this turnaround, and it has been a sharp turnaround from these low levels, and it is now likely to climb towards this immediate swing high. That is the immediate target. Even if it is going to simply remain in the range, we can try to exploit the range with these resistance coming into play only after getting close to 1.091, which is almost 20 pips away from the current levels. And looking at the immediate price action, where it is not even correcting much from these immediate swing highs, it makes me more confident that if this correction is not deepening much, and the same price structure is also evidently there for other major currencies like NZD, AUD. So we have this weakness in the US dollar, which is across the board, even if some of the currencies are much more bullish compared to the other currencies, but the uniformity is there, and that makes us more confident about shorting the US dollar in today's session. Then the question is, which particular instrument is the best suited for that purpose? And for that, we also have to then consider the timeline of the swing high and swing low formation and the magnitude of the price move, so that we get the best possible combination both in terms of the momentum as well as the strength of the momentum, because it is not only important to get the direction right, but also whether it has enough strength to get us profit, good enough profit. That is also an important criterion while deciding whether to go for the trade or simply to sit on the sidelines to avoid the trading commission, trading cost. Now, if we consider the AUD USD price formation, it has also turned around at around the same time which we saw for the euro. The immediate low was formed at 4:35 GMT. From there onwards, it hasn't made a new 4-hourly low. Now it is not really far off, and it is going to be interesting to see if it is likely to make a new swing low here or not. But even if it makes a new swing low around these prior swing low levels, I think the price formation is still quite supportive of the continuation of these bullish momentum, and we will still have to keep looking for the buy on dips trades in the AUD also. Now let's compare it with the euro. For euro, the correction is not deepening much. Rather, we are seeing the euro USD trying to climb past this immediate swing high. So that puts the euro ahead of the AUD. The swing low was made at around the same time, so there is not much of a difference. But the only difference which is now getting evident is this immediate price structure, where we are seeing the euro USD consolidating quite close to the immediate swing high. But whereas if we look at the AUD USD, It is also in a consolidation phase, but it has corrected somewhat to more extent to towards this immediate swing low. So that puts it behind the euro in its bullish momentum. If we keep everything else constant, there is one factor which is likely to go in favor of the euro if we are to go for any trade in which we expect the dollar to weaken further later in the day. So the euro is apparently much more bullish compared to the AUD. Now let's compare it with the other major currencies. And for GBP, we are seeing the mixed price structure. It is not exactly bullish. And even after it went on to make this immediate swing high at around 1.2329, it is one of the laggard. It made this immediate swing high quite early in the day, which is not really the case for the AUD and the euro. And if we compare its charting with the other major currencies on the hourly time frame also, it is not showing much of a rise from the yesterday's low of around 1.2284. Whereas if we consider the price formation of the euro, it has risen more than half a percentage point. The AUD is also looking much more solid, and it has risen almost more than 1 percentage point. So in terms of its magnitude, the gains are quite substantial for the AUD. But now it is lagging. So because of that, maybe we will have to give more preference to the euro. But GBP is not really looking bullish. Rather than that, it can be called mixed. And I think if we see the turnaround happening and the dollar starting to weaken, maybe the GBP is likely to be the first choice to go short, and GBP USD can be shorted where you expect the dollar to start strengthening again. Even in yesterday's session, the outlook was fairly similar, and we saw the GBP struggling and making this immediate swing low while we were talking about the GBP when it was in this price range. So similar outlook is there for today's session also. Not much has changed for the GBP unless we see a sharp move on the higher side. It is more favorable for a short selling trade rather than a long trade. Now let's compare the NZD. NZD is also in line with the its Asia Pacific peer of AUD USD, but it is less bullish compared to the euro. So we have to put it along with the AUD. And if we consider the AUD's price formation, it is trying to revert from the prior swing low, and same price structure is there for NZD. But the difference is that the NZD has declined below this immediate swing low, whereas AUD has turned the corner from above this immediate swing low. So that puts the AUD ahead of the NZD. So we have seen so far the four currencies, and we have the clarity where euro is the most bullish, AUD is following it, to be followed by the NZD, and the GBP is least bullish, or even you can say mixed to quite likely it is going to be the currency instrument which we can short it if the thing starts to change and the dollar starts to gain the upper hand. Now we will have to invert the scale and compare these price formations of the USD CAD, USD CHF, and USD JPY. After gaining substantially after the start of European trading session, the CAD is also consolidating, and now it is correcting, but it is still quite low compared to the immediate swing high, and that puts it much more in a much more bullish position compared to the AUD. And we have the CAD, which we can put just behind the euro, and it is likely to prevail over other major currencies if we expect the USD to remain on the short sell side. But one thing is also to be considered that we have seen this correction, which is bit higher if we compare it to its prior price move, and as a result of that we will have to be a bit careful. Maybe we can put it in between the other major currencies where it is trading neither bullish nor bearish, And as I said, the preference is likely to be with the euro. Now let's take a look on the CHF, what the Swiss franc is doing. In yesterday's session, the Swiss franc was one of the most bullish instruments, and today the things are not looking that bright. But if we consider the hourly charting, it is showing least correction from the lower levels, and it is going sideways on these lower levels. And I think putting this correction phase and the consolidation phase in perspective, the USD CHF is going to be one of the best choice from the medium term perspective. But if you are trying to go for an intraday trade, then the euro is still going to be a better choice. But for the but for swing traders, the CHF is also offering an excellent choice, and even to some extent, you can put it ahead of the euro, but that is for medium term perspective, not for the short term perspective. For the short term, the euro is still a better bet. The USD JPY is also following the similar price formation with the other currencies where JPY has strengthened against the US dollar, and this puts the US dollar on back foot across the board, where some currencies are seeing deepening correction, but for the currencies like JPY, Euro, the correction is pretty shallow. And if we have to go for the trades in these currencies, I think it will be offering us better probability of getting the trades right compared to the currencies in which we are seeing deeper corrections like NZD or even for that matter CAD. So JPY is looking much more bullish, much more solid in its immediate price formation. So if it doesn't really correct much towards the higher levels, and if it sustain this downward spiral below 130 levels, then I think next couple of hours are going to be crucial, and we can go for a short sell trade where we can expect it to decline below this immediate swing low of 129.8 and towards the 129.5 levels in coming hours. And if we consider the price formation on the hourly chart, the things are in a consolidation phase where it has reversed course from these prior swing highs, and now it is inching back toward the immediate swing low, the prior swing low. But given the trajectory being bearish at the moment, it is not advisable to go for any long trade. Rather than that, keep looking for a short selling opportunity, and we can expect this USD JPY to break below the immediate swing low of 129.75, as we have these lower highs formation in place. So we can expect the next move on the lower side to be lower than this immediate swing low, giving us a formation of lower lows and lower high. So pay attention to the immediate price structure for next hour or two, and if we don't really see any further move on the higher side, and if the price is capped just little below this 130 level, then that is going to be a trade which we can reliably take while getting the risk reward ratio in a favorable term, as the stop loss of maybe around 130.10 is likely to be a good proposition. And same thing can also be said about the euro, which is also not correcting much from these higher levels. So that's my outlook for these currencies, where we have the clarity of this momentum with the euro being the most bullish instrument in intraday terms, whereas CHF can be counted as the most bullish from the medium term perspective, while JPY is not really far behind these two instruments. And the GBP USD is the least bullish, and you can even call it a bearish currency instrument. So if you see the signs of reversal, and if the dollar starts to gain in today's session, the GBP USD is going to be the first choice to go for any short sale trades. Now let's turn our gaze to the equity segment. For equities, there is this correction happening, but the range is quite narrow as the US session is going to begin only in the evening. So if we look at these price moves of the Dow Jones Industrial Average futures, the range is quite narrow, but it is likely to be following the European equity indices. So let's consider the price formations of the European equity indices. The DAX is not looking exactly bearish. It has shown these volatile moves on both the sides. It's looking directionless, and if we have to consider the DAX chart from the medium term perspective, it is in a consolidation range where it is finding the resistance toward these 15,200 levels. In yesterday's session also we saw this turnaround, and today's session also it went on to rise pretty close to this immediate swing high, and from there on it gave up all those gains to settle around these 15,100 levels. And now if we have to go for any new trade, the DAX is not going to offer us much headroom on the upper side, as its upside is likely to be capped around these 15,200 levels. So I would not really recommend going for any long trade in the DAX. But at the same time, the DAX is not really looking like a good choice to short either. And if it consolidates below the 15,150 level for next couple of hours, then maybe we can change our mind. But as of now, given its sharp move from the lower side, it is not really advisable to go short either. Maybe it is better to simply overlook it and wait for more clarity before we can decide whether to go for a trade or not. The FTSE 100, the FTSE 100 is looking much more bearish in today's session. If we consider its medium term chart, it is finding resistance closer to this immediate swing high, and I think there is this formation where we haven't really seen much of a correction from these lower levels. So watch out for the G FTSE 100 and its possible move further on the lower side. So that possibility is there. Even now it is jumping on the lower side, and I expect this decline to extend further in coming hours. So this possibility of short selling the FTSE 100 is also presenting itself to us. Now, in light of these developments in the European segment, let's consider the price formation of the US equity futures. US equity futures are correcting somewhat from the higher levels, but it is quite a shallow correction as of now. So we still have to maintain the bullish outlook in the equity indices for the US. And after the start of the US session, if there is not much of a dip on the lower side, we can indeed go for a long trade while expecting the Dow to climb towards these 34,100 levels or little above that. Even though there is resistance in place, we still have the possibility of making half a percentage point, but only if the Dow holds closer to this level and doesn't really correct much from these current levels. The S&P 500 is also showing similar signs of consolidation on the higher levels, and same thing sounds true for the Nasdaq also. Now, if we have to consider the relative strength of the momentum, we will have to look at the timeline of these three equity indices futures, and from that we are gaining this insight that the S&P 500 is much more bearish compared to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is yet to touch its 4 hourly swing low, whereas that has already happened in the S&P 500 as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So for today's session, if you want to go for any long trade, the Nasdaq is going to be the best possible choice, looking at its current price formation and the strength of the momentum, whereas the DX is the best possible equity instrument for any short sale trades. So if you are negative on the equities, then I would suggest look for the short sale trades in the FTSE 100. And if you are expecting the momentum to change in course of time and start rising, then the Nasdaq is going to be the most bullish equipment instrument to trade with. So we have this clarity on the equity segment also with Nasdaq being a preferable instrument to go for a long trade, and FTSE 100 a preferable instrument to trade on the short side. And we saw the analysis for currency segment also, where the Euro USD is clearly the winner for the further appreciation, and GBP USD can be favored for further depreciation, further decline towards the lower levels. So that's all from my side for today's session of correlation and regression. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there too. For trying out the newly released trading platform, the link has been included in the bio. So give it a try and let me know how it works out for you. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time around. Till then.